our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My name is Katie, and I am blessed and grateful to be here today, and also to be, most importantly, in recovery. I am a compulsive overeater. I'm a binger. I'm a purger. I am a post-bariatric surgery.
She's a
I'm a
post-bariatric surgery.
post-bariatric surgery, but I'm also the biggest thing that defines me is really I'm an addict. So I'm a food addict, but I'm an addict, drug addict.
I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic and an anorexic, and our addiction used to define us, and now we can define ourselves by our recovery.
Exactly. And we get together so we learn from each other. And it helps us be in recovery. It helps us also share our stories of strength, courage, hope, and to work on our recovery and grow as people so we can actually live joyous, happy, and free lives.
So this morning I want to clear up a couple of things that have been talked about online. First of all, you guys, we're not a 12-step program. We're not AA or NA or OA. We love those programs. We've all been to those programs. I got clean in AA. We've gone to OA, met my sponsees in OA. So we love all of the 12-step programs. We talk about the spiritual principles behind the 12 steps. I read the promises, which come from the big book of AA. And we're going to talk about those things because it's where I came from. It's where you came from, right?
Right. I've been in all the rooms.
Yeah, and we're all for anything that gets you guys clean. And please remember that whatever is said here is just me sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and everybody else sharing their experience, strength, and hope as well.
Right.
And that's all it is. We're just some girls hanging out talking about recovery, which we love recovery. Recovery is awesome, and we're just sharing that with you.
Right, and we're all different, and different things speak to each of us. And what we found is that what we're doing speaks to us, and it's taking all that knowledge and all that experience and being able to pool it together. Because I'm a cross addict. I get addicted. I'm an addict, so I will use anything that changes the way that I feel. I become obsessed over what I'm doing, and it shifts the way that I'm feeling. To shift how I'm feeling. So it's also taking the learnings from that, and that's why we also put together Why Wait for Recovery and developed a system that kind of takes everything that we've done from all different experiences and pulled it together so it speaks to even more people, because the more people who can step into recovery, the better.
Of course. Also, you guys, spiritual principle that we're working on that does come from the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today we're on integrity. And so I want to touch on integrity with clean time. So I haven't had a drink in 10 years, and that doesn't mean, for me, for my own clean time, it doesn't mean that I'm allowed to pick up a 10-year medallion this year because I relapsed 2 years ago. So it doesn't matter. I got clean again 2 years ago, so after 7 years. So it doesn't matter what I relapsed on for me. The fact is that I relapsed, and as soon as I don't own that relapse, the sooner I am, the easier it is to relapse again. So if I relapsed because I was binging or purging, or I relapsed because I was starving myself for 6 months, or if I relapsed on opiates, which I did, and then in the end I was on opiates and starving myself. So even though that's what I relapsed on for this addict, I talk to you guys about black and white. For me, there's no gray area in my recovery, because as soon as I allow that gray area into my recovery, I use. So for me and for everybody else, if you want to talk about your clean time, that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. When we put up stuff like, well, I haven't had a drink in 10 years, but I've been binging and purging for the last 6 months. If you're binging and purging, share that with us, that that's been going on, and let us try to help, and let us learn from what you're going through. And that gives you a chance to help others as well. So that's my thing, and it's something that's super important to me.
So when we speak of sharing, we've got different ways of sharing, and it's really important that we do. So we share on Zoom, just so you know, because we have a whole lot of new people that join us. So we join on Zoom. If you want to join this meeting and share your thoughts about what we're talking about, join us on Zoom. That is a private platform. No one can see who's on there. If you're on our Facebook page, people know that you're there. If you are commenting, if you're on our general Why Wait for Recovery page, if you are on What's Eating You, that is a members only group. No one sees what you post there unless they are part of the group. The most anonymous way of really joining us is via Zoom, because no one knows that you're on it other than the people that are in the room. So if you feel that uncomfortable, join us on Zoom, but it also gives you a great platform. And I'm also so happy that you're discussing what, you know, the first principle behind what we consider the first step is honesty, you know, and if we don't start with that honesty within ourselves, it also starts, as the food addict that I am, it also starts as head games with me, and mine is an obsession with food. That's one of my that's one of the places where it's one of my addictions. And when I start swapping things and going down roads that are great, I start going, almond flour is okay if it looks like cake, and this looks like different things, and really it becomes part of my obsession. It's not about the food. It becomes that headspace that I allow myself to enter into that leads me down this really rocky road, that all of a sudden the thought of picking up something, and it becomes so much easier to give up my recovery and give up feeling happy and start heading down that really dark place into relapse if I start getting into that space.
Yeah, so you're talking about gray areas again.
Right.
So we're going to talk about black and white, and we're going to talk about the dopamine receptor, because we have people that also comment online. So you guys, dopamine receptors are pleasure center, and sugar and cocaine both touch that same receptor. They share the dopamine receptor. And so just like with cocaine, people are addicted to cocaine. They can't do crack or drink, right? Or do anything else that's going to stimulate that dopamine receptor. We're going to be real clear. For me, for my patients, it's zero. When we talk about abstinence, we're going to talk about abstinence from rice, bread, potato, pasta. So we talk about abstinence from starches, no matter what color they are, you guys. So we know that if I take a diabetic and I give them brown bread or whole wheat bread, it raises their blood sugar. And so that's stimulating that dopamine receptor. And we do talk about how it's not about the food, and it's not about the pot, and it ain't about what you're drinking, and it's not that you're gambling away $80 million. It's that we have a problem with our thinking. We have a problem with our perspective. And whatever we're picking up, we're picking up. We do need to stay clean. I can't be getting high every day and work on my recovery because they don't match. So we do need to stay clean so that we can step into our recovery. And then after we're in recovery, the clean part stays. In the meantime, any color, rice, bread, potato, pasta, any color starch still stimulates a dopamine receptor. You guys can do whatever you want to do. Nobody has to do anything. That's between you and God. I'm just saying that for me and for my patients is zero starch, because if they're stimulating that dopamine receptor, they're going to use. It's like people who say, I can have a glass of wine because I'm addicted to cocaine. It don't work. And that's just the way that it's seen time and time and time and time and time again. So I wanted to make that kind of clear, because I know that we talk about that online as well. And Haiti, you said that we have a site that's post-bariatric surgery?
Yeah, there's a site called Post Bariatric Surgery as a group on Facebook, where we're going to start posting those other parts of it. Because some of us, you know, as addicts, we not only we forget how to live, but also if you're a food addict like myself, who has been for 42 years, I'm now in recovery, but I forgot not only how to live, but also how to eat and what to wear, and I forgot so many things that I had to relearn. I still don't know what size clothes I am in. I mean, it's crazy, but that is the sign for people who struggle with that. And also to share resources and recipes and whatever else that looks like, because for some of us it is the food. We need food to live in a sense, but the choices we make are choices that help us be healthy and not feed our allergy and our addiction.
Absolutely. And you just said, I don't know what size I am, and that's crazy. I think that's for me. Angeli goes shopping with me all the time. I pick something up and I'm like, am I the size? I have no clue. Remember I used to talk about how I didn't think that I fit in the bathtub, and you guys used to laugh at me? That's really not so laughable. So what you said, you have no idea what size you are. I think that people who have issues with binging or purging or obesity or anorexia, I think that we're all like that. So thanks for sharing that.
Right. And
it's like, oh yeah, I have that same thing.
And it's all a perception thing, you know. We think of food just as that substance, that thing that makes us feel whatever it is when we are fighting that addiction, we're in that mode. But when we actually look at it once we're in recovery, we realize that we actually have a disease. Addiction is a disease, and we have allergies to certain things that we do stuff when we're in full-blown addiction that we wouldn't do if we were clean. I mean, we think differently, we act differently, we behave differently, we become different people, and not necessarily people that we ourselves like or want to be or strive to be, we end up saying things we don't mean and not saying things that we really mean, and we're unhappy.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that it starts before that. And so thanks for sharing that. And so we're unhappy to begin with, and we don't like ourselves to begin with, and we feel less than and unlovable to begin with. And that's a whole lot of reason why we do use, so that we can be brave, so that we can feel better, so that we can fit in, so that we can be a part of, until we start isolating because we're so horrified with ourselves and so disgusted with ourselves, and then we get to the point where we don't want anybody to see what we're doing. So I think that we've talked long enough.
I just want to say one
Okay.
other thing. And one of the other things is I find, especially living in the world that we do, that there's so much information and everyone's got an opinion. When I started looking at what people post on the different sites, and I belong to many, many groups, and I see people who have gone for bariatric surgery, they're on this journey, and people who are in full-blown addiction are giving them advice on how to live their lives and what to eat and what to use to justify their own using, and they don't live with the consequences. So there's also that element of being able to put into perspective our own feelings and the things that work for us, and not be codependent or not really rely on what other people are saying and doing, because I find it also becomes an excuse for us to go back, it becomes an excuse for a relapse or to use. even
Right.
if you're
And
not in
so
recovery.
again, we're going to talk about our recovery being black and white, that there are no gray areas in our recovery, right?
Right.
Because then we are doing what you said. We're looking for, oh, well, that person said that it's okay to eat da 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 da, and so I'm going to eat that, and then in 3 days I'm eating a chocolate cake. You know what I mean? So there's nothing gray. We make it pretty simple for ourselves. For me, I have to keep it simple. Life is as complicated as I make it. Recovery is as complicated as I make it. If I keep it simple and I don't use, and I live by the spiritual principles behind the 12 steps, and I'm doing what it is that I'm supposed to do, I have a whole lot better chance of staying in recovery. We're going to go around a room and check in. Guys, we're going to talk about integrity today. And so we're going to ask everybody if they have anything to share. And you guys, integrity is kind of like honesty on steroids. So it's honesty, but it's honesty with ourselves. Honesty always has to start with ourselves, right? Because if I'm lying to myself, I'm going to lie to everybody else. And integrity is about living honestly. It's truth telling. It's true. Hey, Ange, if you have a second, can you bring up that quote? Honesty is not just da da da. It's truth living, truth loving. Yeah. We'll read a quote after, which I really love about integrity and about honesty. But good morning. So we haven't seen you in so long, and I'm so glad that you're here.
So speaking of integrity, that's why I'm here. I've had a really rough couple.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. I was here for quite a while, and one of my main reasons for coming was so that I could get my body in a place where I could have a baby. And so we got pregnant. And then over Christmas, we lost the baby.
I'm really sorry.
And I totally picked up.
Of course.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, get back on the wagon. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing, and so I'd go about a week, and then something would happen and my emotions would get out of control and I would just binge. And so it's been that way for a couple weeks now, where it's just like I'll be good for several days, 5 days or so, and then something will happen and I turn to the food, and I've been kicking myself for a while. I'm like, you need to go back because you can't do this on your own. And so I'm here today. Because you need that community, you need those reminders, you need the place and the space to be with one another to get back. The only way I got on the wagon the first time was with a community, and so I need to get back in there.
Yeah, and so I'm really sorry. And I'm sorry that you're in pain. I love you, and I'm really sorry that you're in pain. I'm going to talk about, in the beginning, you and I were doing step work together. And so when we talk about, I went through times where, I don't eat or whatever for 4 days, and then I do, then I binge. And so then we're talking about the food.
Right.
So we're talking about you being out of control and your perspective being off,
Right.
and you using. So the couple of days that you're not using, you're just setting yourself up to fail. And so we were doing some step work, and we were talking about recovery from a recovery aspect. And I believe that as long as we're not seeking recovery, an actual recovery, because remember, if we're here to stop eating, that's not going to work, you guys. It doesn't work like that, right? We're here to change our perspective, to understand what is and what isn't in our control, right? And to understand that the universe turns the way that it does, and that life happens, right? And we learn that we're walking around with a whole bunch of fear about a whole bunch of stuff that we're worrying about that's going to happen the way that it happens, not the way that we want it to happen, right? You know, when I talk about my son dying, you know, the biggest lesson I needed to learn was that 17-year-old boy died because he died. It didn't happen to me. It happened. And I'm not the only person that's kid died. And so that's a super hard lesson to learn in life. And after your world is tilted, it's really, really difficult to see things happily, you know, because this thing happened to us when in fact it did happen, and it sucks. And I'm really, really, really sorry. And so my hope for you, and welcome back, man. Like, I'm so glad to see, everybody's so glad to see you.
So happy to see
And
you.
yeah, and my hope for you is that your heart will find some serenity, and that you work on the recovery part of it this time, so that you don't have to feel like this again. Do things happen, you guys? Do we get sad? Do people die? Do we get in car accidents? Do we get sick? Do our loved ones? Yeah, that does happen. Do we need to use over that? Fortunately, no. Is it what we know how to do? Yeah, it is. We've been doing it for so long that our brains are just like bam. So if we're not working on our recovery, and if we're not connected to a community, we're going to use when something horrifying comes up, because we don't know how else to deal with it, right? It's our only out. So thank you for your honesty again. I'm really, really sorry for what you went through, and thank you for just sharing that openly. And I love you, and I'm really glad that you're here.
Hi, yeah,
I'd love to just say something. Firstly, I'm so happy you're back, and I'm sorry. And you brought up such an important subject as well. And as a food addict, I treated my early recovery as another diet program, where I was looking at it as a diet. I'm a serial dieter, and I kind of fell into that headspace until I realized the more I think about the food, I'm concentrating on the substance. When I think of the addiction, I'm focusing on the disease, and that is the way towards recovery, not that point of the food so much as really the process. And all of a sudden things started shifting and changing.
Yeah. So that's my hope for you, is that this time we work on the recovery a lot, and you'll heal. And even though it feels so horrible now, I do know that it's possible for you to get okay. So love you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Integrity.
Had a beautiful morning. Integrity. Well, as you said, it's honesty on steroids, and so I guess honesty is where I will go. I was thinking the other morning as I was driving about going to meetings in the past, because I've been in and out of the rooms of AA, and now I'm in the rooms of NA as well, and using once, but going to the meeting and still maintaining that I had a certain
Lying.
amount of
We
time.
call that lying.
We call that lying.
Yeah. So you're lying then.
So I was thinking about that as I was driving, and you know, I got that feeling in the pit of my stomach, because that's no longer acceptable.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
not acceptable.
Awesome. So lying
then,
and cool in recovery, you guys.
Yeah, and I thought about how much, before I came back to the programs, how much I was lying and sneaking all the time, and avoiding people and not able to look anybody in the eye, ever.
Sucks, right?
Sucks.
Yeah.
And you know, I had this psychic change, and my thinking really just flipped around. And
How much clean time do you have this time?
60 days today.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
60 days, thank you.
Okay, what's the longest amount of clean time you had?
while in active recovery, probably 6 months.
Okay.
But
All right, good. So good for you. And so you feel differently this time.
I do feel differently.
Good
this
for
time.
you.
I feel very blessed, and it's such a relief to be honest.
Right?
It's such a relief.
Right, you don't have to have
my
that stomach
God,
ache.
The work was so hard and painful, and you know how you feel about yourself. It was just awful. So I'm very, very grateful to be living in honesty.
And thank you so much for sharing that. And so I love in the rooms that they say that every time we picked up on a lie. And that lie is, well, it's only 3 Percocet, and I'm only going to do it today.
Right.
And I'm going to start again on Monday, and no one's going to know anyway, because if I show up drunk, they all know. But if I show up on opiates, nobody friggin' knows. And what's the difference anyway? And I'm going to go into the rooms and say I'm clean anyway. But anyway, no one's going to know, and my family's going to be happy, and I'll just figure it out on Monday. And all of those are lies that we tell ourselves. Not that we tell others, but that we tell ourselves so that we can tell others. And so when we're talking about honesty and integrity, I'm always going to get back to, it's about us being honest with us being able to tell ourselves the truth so that we could work on this recovery thing.
I love that you say this, because do you know what? I was always into looking good. So I would go into the different room that was the easier one to deal with. So I'd go into OA, I'd go into AA, because I'm not an alcoholic, I'm just an addict, and I've got a food issue. And I'd go into these different places where I didn't really need to share properly. But if I was in AA, you couldn't smell if I'd used, you know, or if I'd used food or whatever it was. It was always looking good was always more paramount than really feeling good.
Yeah.
And that level of integrity and being able to go, we'd had these discussions. Well, I haven't picked up any of the starches or whatever it is since 2015 or 2016, whatever it is, but I smoked pot and I had cigarettes in between. And then it becomes, do I have different belts and different notches to carry all that time? And at the end, I realized no one else cares. You know, it's not about anyone else. That level of, that sense of ickiness sits within me when I start playing those games. And all of a sudden, when I start cleaning up my own room and my own stuff and start stepping into that integrity and honesty, firstly, I step out of that shame and that guilt. And I've become more comfortable of talking about recovery and sharing about it more openly and being able to stand up and saying, you know what, I am an addict and I'm dealing with my disease and I'm working on my recovery. So it's not about looking good, it's more about the feelings and feeling good and feeling healthy
And so we're talking about integrity. So
Yes.
again, we're talking about black and whites, right?
Right.
Not that gray area in between. We're talking about not saying, well, I haven't binged in 2 years, and not saying I haven't binged in 2 years, and not saying the part where, but I was smoking pot 4 months ago. And so when you're walking around like that, you're honest, right? Because you're honest about the fact that you haven't binged in 2 years.
Right.
But you're lying. It's kind of like you're lying by omission, right?
Sin of omission.
That omission is a lie. Omissions, you guys, are only lies when our omissions, because we got a secret, because we're ashamed of something, right? So if I don't tell you that I went to Publix at 3 o'clock yesterday, it's really not a lie, right? I just forgot to tell you. If I forget to tell you that I got high yesterday, that's a lie.
Right.
Right?
And if I piss you off like I used to do to my husband, that he'd take the kids and go out so that I could binge and then purge and no one would know about it and everything's cleaned up and beautiful by the time they get home.
Yeah,
then
it's a
that's
lie. Yeah, and I'm
100%.
glad that you talked about having that stomach ache, and I'm glad that you talked about completely being honest, because for me, that's my first thing. You know, they say follow your gut, and when I'm going to do anything that borders on I'm not going to be walking in integrity, I do get that stomach ache. That's my first thing, that adrenaline that increases the acid in your stomach, that gives you that tummy crunch. And you guys, we always know when we're walking with integrity or not. And when we're in our recovery, doing our best to do our best, we're always going to remember that honesty is a spiritual principle behind the first step. And when people are doing step work and they say, oh, my fourth step, you don't got the if you're not honest, there's nothing else that we can do, right? If we're not honest, we're going to use if we're not using right now. So thanks for sharing that. And thanks for sharing that. That was awesome. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you, sweetness?
Good.
You want to talk about integrity?
Well, I don't know if this works, but I am honestly the most happy and content with who I am at this moment, and it scares the hell out of me.
Talk louder. Congratulations.
I'm just scared that like it's the calm before the storm and something bad's gonna happen.
Okay, and so you don't need to put it out there that something bad is going to happen. You know why? If something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen. So that's like us worrying about next month on Tuesday, it might rain. Okay, so do I want to not live the next 30 days because next month on Tuesday, it might rain? So am I going to get upset about that, or do I want to live in the moment? Enjoy whatever it is. I love that you said this because I just texted this whole thing to a friend of mine. Live in the moment. Enjoy the moment. Be happy in the moment, because you know what? We're not guaranteed the next 10 seconds. We're not. We're guaranteed that we're sitting here right now, and in 10 seconds, the earth can swallow us up, and this was the last conversation we're having. So if you want to worry about things that might or might not happen, you're living in tomorrow. You're not living in the moment. Are you missing the movie, baby?
True.
Be happy.
I
If
am
happy
happy.
stuff is happening, you know, enjoy the happy and stop fearing what you don't know, because you don't know.
And also, if bad stuff or whatever happens, you've got friends, you've got people that we are here for you, you've got support, you've got a program. It's a different place. You know, I was reading this reading that said when I was in active addiction, I needed to feel happy the whole day. That's what I strove for. I woke up wanting to be happy. All of a sudden in recovery, my day, I might have 50 different emotions throughout the day, and they may go however they're going, and I deal with them as they're happening. But if it becomes overwhelming, I can pick up the phone, I can call a friend, I can do a million other things that helps me get through those different times when they become trying and they're difficult. You know, it's not always fantastic, but the thing is that we sit here projecting about all the things that could go wrong. There are a million things, and I guarantee when I know me, the thing that I don't plan on is the thing that happens that throws me off course. But it's different because I know stuff happens, and it's going to happen, whatever it looks like. But I've got you guys.
So what Haiti is talking about is that we prepare for tomorrow, right? I go to work and I have a job so that I could pay my rent, right? And I can make a car payment in. So I do prepare for tomorrow, but I'm not worrying about tomorrow because I have no idea of what's in store for me. Only the universe knows that, right? So enjoy it. I'm really glad that you're really happy. That's very cool, whatever that means to you. And good for you. And thank you for being here today. I really always appreciate you
And
sharing.
I just want to touch on something. If anyone's got anything to add or to ask or questions, here's the place that we do that. It's not just a one-on-one coaching type session. This is also a discussion format. So if there's something you're not sure about or something you're questioning, now's the time to do it, because this
Yeah.
is how we learn.
Yeah.
So peep on Zoom, unmute yourself if you want to be heard. Peep on Facebook, jump on Zoom if you want to be heard. Post your questions.
Thank
That's
you.
it. Sure.
Come join us, you guys. Miss Allie, good morning.
Good morning.
Lady in red. How are you this morning?
I'm good this morning. I had a very tough week.
I know you did.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a very tough week. But you know, and there were a couple of times this week when I woke up and I was like, you know, basically, what the fuck.
I know.
But today I woke up and I was like, I'm okay. And certainly, walking in integrity was a big thing for me this week.
Yeah.
And realizing that, you know, I felt like I had an issue with overeating, and I
And
always
she said she had an issue with overeating, and I want to make sure because we talked about this at length. So
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that you brought it up because I'm going to expound on that after.
sure.
So because that is about integrity.
Yeah.
So you had an issue with what we're going to call overeating.
Correct.
Okay.
And I, you know, I would tell, you know, my sponsor and other people that I had an issue with overeating, but I wouldn't stop doing it. Or I felt like I needed to do it. Like I would say every day, okay, today is the day I'm going to stop overeating. I've stopped all this other stuff, and I need to blah, 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 blah. It was this mind craziness of every day that I woke up, I would say I would stop overeating. And I never did. I never did. For the past 8 months, I never did.
And can I share? So Allie is post surgery, and so she's post surgery, and so you're losing loads of weight. right? But you're still overeating. So thanks for sharing that part, because I can't tell you how many people online talk about their post-surgery and they're still overeating.
Yeah.
Or it's okay for them to eat McDonald's because they're going to eat their Big Mac through the day, which for me, it makes me want to fall off the couch. But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead. I've interrupted you for a change.
So to admit that I was still having unhealthy eating practices, and to truly admit it, because to say it is to just say it, like it's very robotic to just say it. Yeah, I am overeating, but to say it and know it, and then have an action plan in which to change it, is something different.
Right.
So that's what I'm.
Right.
And I just have
Go ahead.
to say
Go
something.
ahead.
So there's the knowing it and thinking it, because I came from the same place. I came from that concept of before of having to finish a plate of food and not really stopping when I was full, even post surgery. And it also leads into those discussions of people forget there's also a honeymoon period when you post surgery. That first you're not thinking about food that much, but then all of a sudden the thinking comes back. And also, for me, something I had to realize is that my stomach is an elastic band. And yes, they've taken off 75% of it from the sleeve surgery, but that can stretch back out. And not only that, I can stretch it back out as quickly as I want to by doing things that are unhealthy for myself. But it didn't change. Knowing that and thinking that is a totally different concept. That ability to also be able to say, oh, do you know what, I'm looking at overeating, is a totally different process than going, well, I'm allowed to eat this and my nutritionist said I can do this, because it's not necessarily healthy practices for us.
So yeah, and we're going to bring it back to integrity, because
Right.
that's the really
Right.
important point here, which, yes, Ange.
And
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
and
sorry,
I was
you're
going to
done.
say let her finish because I know what she was going to say
Okay,
next.
go
I'm
ahead,
her
Ellie.
sponsor, and what she has to say next is important.
I can't remember.
I have a question.
Sure, hi.
So I'm on the same lines as her, except for I overate and overate and overate, and then I have this surgery, and now I'm afraid to eat anything.
Okay, and so we're going to talk about that. Right now, what we're talking about is integrity. So we're talking about us being honest, right? And so thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to get to you as well, so no worries. We're going to speak with you as well. But when we talk about the integrity, so we had talked about, and please interrupt me anytime, or Andrew, if
Can
you
I
want to
interrupt
help
you right
share.
now?
Yes, please.
So, the thing that I think you were getting to is, I know Haiti was talking about the physical nature of the surgery, but with her, we talked about this at length last night, the way you feel when you know you're in integrity versus not.
Right.
Right.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. So we're not going to talk about just the food. First of all, I am going to touch on when you're post-surgery, you guys, if you're overeating, you're binging. You're just binging as much as your body allows you to. Right? So before, we could eat this much food. Now, we're supposed to eat this much food. If we're eating this much food, we're binging because we can't put in this much food. But it's not really about that, right? It's about what's eating me. Why am I trying to fill myself up to change the way that I feel? What do I need to get full about? Right? Instead of just satiated from food, which food is there to be satiated with. So what is it that I need to fill up? What emptiness is happening inside of me that I'm going to do my best to stuff with food? That's talking about recovery. When we're talking about overeating, we're talking about being an active addiction. And we need to recognize that. And so what you're saying is you were doing it, you were talking about it, but you weren't feeling it. You were just mechanically talking about it. And that's very, very amazingly excellent for you to realize. And it's super painful. I mean, we talked the other day, and it's a horrible thing to say, but I was glad that you were crying. I was glad that you were so upset. I was glad that you were despondent, because that meant that you were allowing yourself to feel something. And then to figure out whatever it is that you're feeling so that you don't need to use, that's going to come. You'll work with your sponsor or your sponsor's sponsor about that. But in the meantime, you've allowed yourself to feel, right? Mm-hmm. And to be angry, and to be angry that you're an addict, right? I'm pissed off that I'm an addict often, right? To be angry that you're an addict so that we could get to the place that we could say, okay, that happened. We're addicts. Okay, You know, I have this straight hair. Okay, that happened. You know, that is what it is, right? And I am capable of making that change, but not until I realize and I get that honesty that, yeah, I'm an addict and that I'm still using addictive behaviors. And why is that? What is it? What emptiness am I trying to fill? Pretty, you know, when we talk about filling that emptiness, you know, or filling us up emotionally, pretty easy to see. Very difficult to feel and to chat about, but very easy to see that that's what we're doing. And you were very courageous the other day, and I commend you for that. You said a whole lot, and you felt a whole lot, and I felt, I mean, I talked with Ange after, and the both of us were just like falling on the floor. Like, we felt so much for you. Because, you know, we kid around and we say the struggle is real. Struggle's real, man. It's struggle is real, and addiction sucks. That's just the way it is. Addiction sucks. Being in recovery and feeling better and feeling the majority of times, are we going to be happy, joyous, and free all the time? No. Did I walk in this morning and say to everybody, I'm pissed off and discontent and I have absolutely no idea of why? Yeah, okay. So that happened. But I don't have to go use because of it. Yes, Ange.
I want to also, excuse me.
Speak up, baby.
I want to also say for Allison, her thing, we talked yesterday, and I was like, so you've been clean for 3 days, and how do you feel? And you didn't realize before that anything was wrong because you live in that lie, so to speak, and you make yourself feel everything's wrong. And then when you see the other side of it, and you're like, oh, I can do this. Because you said to me, I don't think I've had any extended period of being clean since my surgery.
Right, since her surgery.
And I think that goes back to what you're speaking about. It's not about the physical act of eating or why, because at the end of the day, we're all going to eat whatever we eat, but it's the reasons we eat. And, you know, you got to see that there's a lot of reasons why you were doing what you were doing, you know?
Yeah, and I will also say that there is still, even though I've come to this realization, there is still struggle and like mind craziness.
Of
like
course.
it's not release.
It doesn't go
You
away
didn't get cured?
instantly.
Yeah.
How many people in this room aren't cured yet?
I never got the
Yeah,
gold
so
star.
exactly. So you guys, we ain't getting cured. We're doing our best to do our best, right? That's what we're going to do, is our best to do our best. Okay, are we going to have bad days? Of course we are. Are we going to have better days? Of course we are. If we talk about it, we have a chance to stay in recovery. If we understand that the universe turns the way that it does, and there's so little that we're in control of, which is our perspective, right? And our own actions, that's it. And the universe is going to turn the way that it does, right? And that when they talk about stepping into the sunlight of the spirit, it's about letting go of the stuff that we can't change, right? We say the serenity prayer how many times a day in our heads, right? But do we hear it? Accept the things I can't change. A whole bunch of stuff, right? The courage to change the things that I can right now, baby, that's you stepping into recovery, right? And putting down the food. And the wisdom to know the difference. Letting go of what I can't control. And that makes life a whole lot easier. It really does. And I can't thank you enough for you sharing, because I can promise you what you just said. You know, I've been binging. I see this stuff online and I want to cry, because no one's going to stay. If there's no recovery after bariatric surgery, you're going to get sick. And I see these patients day after day after day after day after day, because they come to me because they're obese and they're type 2 diabetics, and they tell me that they've had surgery 3 years ago and now they've gained back their weight and 100 pounds more.
And I'm seeing the people, that are posting online that have gone for second surgeries. That all of a sudden the first one didn't work and they're doing a second bariatric surgery.
Yeah, so that's like going into a treatment center for 6 months, getting out, using, and going into a treatment center for 6 months and not learning any recovery. What's going to happen in a couple of months is you're going to go back to treatment for 6 months. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And so we need to change spiritually. We need to change our perspective. We need to change, and again, I say this every single meeting, but they told me when I got clean, there was only one thing that I needed to change, and that was absolutely everything. Everything. I needed to change everything, because I needed to change the way that I think. I had a broken thinker, right? So I needed to change the way that I was thinking. Ange?
Oh.
Were you going to say something else?
No, it's okay. It was a little while back.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, is it my turn to share?
It's your turn to share about integrity.
All right. So I don't know if this is on topic or not. You'll stop me.
It is
Okay.
if you want it to be.
Okay. So my thing with integrity, and I think this goes back to, I think it's a thing like in active addiction, we are so determined to do whatever we're doing, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We're just set in one mindset. So now that I'm in recovery and I'm far enough in it where I understand what's going on, I think there's the fear there of losing it, and so I skirt that line of being on that other extreme, and that's not good either. I try to pull myself back in, but there's the yesterday or the day before we had a conversation, and I said to you, well, I ate this and then I ate this and then I don't know about this, and I've never had that conversation with you about food because I know that's never been my thing. I know it's so much more than that, and I think it was important for me to have that realization because there needs to be an awareness about that, in the sense that it can go the other way, and I think it's important to just be, I feel like I'm rambling now, but be aware that there's that balance, so to speak, and not everything has to be one way.
Right, and you're talking about, so what we were talking about the other day is being post-surgery,
Right.
having clean time, and then eating like an anorexic.
Right.
Yeah, right, our sponsor says. So, yeah, and so we don't want to toe that line either.
Because that's
know.
addiction in the other
Of
direction.
course, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
My anorexia is the same thing as your binging, baby. So it's the same exact thing because spiritually, we're exactly the same. Again, it doesn't matter what we're picking up. So
Right.
for me, I starve myself. For you, you were a binger. So
And
a
I
lot of
know-
times bingers become starvers.
Yeah,
right?
And I know the reason I do it, it's the same. It's to control something I can't control in my life. I can control my eating.
Of
and
course
either.
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just, point being is that I'm being aware of that and making sure that I don't do that. You know, you and I have been having more conversation about that just to keep me in line.
to
so
make
speak.
sure, yeah, to make sure that you don't cross that
Right.
that thin line, very thin line, no pun intended, but very thin
Yeah.
line.
You also made me think of, as you're sharing, you made me think of something. You know, when we talk about integrity, I see people in the rooms that have 30 years clean or long clean time of recovery. And it makes me think that there's also that danger of complacency there's two things. One is when you've been clean for a while, not wanting to look bad in front of other people, that if you do relapse, or it's harder to relapse, or to say that you're heading towards that way because you've been clean for so long and in recovery for so long, it stops the share, or it stops you from doing the things that keep you healthy. And also that complacency of going, well, I've got this under my belt, I'm 6 months clean, I don't need to do the meetings, and I don't need to connect with people, and I don't need to share, and I'm recovered.
Mm-hmm.
So it really made me think about the importance of being able to work the program and still have the tools in our toolbox and still keep working our recovery every single day so we can still learn from it. And some of the ways that we do it is we have our group. I mean, the What's Eating You group for me has been invaluable, the people on it. And I love seeing that people are sharing because that is how we grow. When we're able to say, listen, I'm feeling this, or I'm not quite sure what I'm feeling or what this is, or be able to get feedback from different people, because we get people that join us from all around the world. People are in different time zones. They join us, you've got a question, you're struggling with something, post it there. Someone is going to be able to respond to you. And not only that, some people have stuff eating them for so long and it keeps them sick for so long. One of the reasons we do this, and when we share, it makes us think of other things that help us share, and that's called service. That service of being able to reach other people. So if anyone here is watching this, that is enjoying this, share this with someone that they think that they can benefit from it or could learn from it, or that may be struggling, that needs to hear what we're sharing, and also jump into the conversation, because
Yeah.
this is what it's about, is learning and talking.
Yes,
May I respond?
of course.
So going back to what you're saying, I think that for me, I know you're speaking on your own experience. For me, I don't think lucky is even a great enough word, but I'm lucky enough to know that no matter what I say, with my sponsor, Felice, it's okay. So I don't think I've ever had that. I'm not gonna say I don't have the shame because I have the shame. I'm like everyone else, but I've had that have it maybe more so. But I'm lucky enough to know that from the beginning we had that thing set up where anything I need to say, it's okay. And anything I need to hear and anything. And so I try not to get stuck in that, and I say what I need to say and share when I need to share. And so I just related to that when you were saying that, you know, it's...
And you do stay in community because whether you do it because you want to, whether you go to meetings with me because I say that that's what you need to do to be my sponsee, and you do come here and you do step work and you did do the workshop and you're going to do the workshop again. And so you're really working on your recovery constantly, which is what you're talking about.
Right. And also, you know, talking about the workshop, Ange was like one of the people who were instrumental in helping develop it. I mean, it's a lot of her input and a lot of her guidance and a lot of her hard work working with Felice, and also everyone who participated in the last workshop,
Which
helped
was
us
so
make,
great.
which was so awesome. Also helped us make the next one even better because we all learned ways, you know, it's all learning techniques. And these workshops help us because we don't know. You know, for many of us who have been in active addiction, I was an addict from 7 years old. I stepped into the rooms after 42 years of active addiction. I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know what living life looked like, and I didn't know about talking about emotions. And the workshop really, the way it's structured, helps me get out of that stuff and gives me the ability and ways and the tools to be able to do
And to
that.
get honest.
And to get honest.
Right.
It's all about the
Right.
honesty. And
Right. And to be able to
Right.
say, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Help.
Exactly.
I need help so that I can get better. Thank you.
Right.
Hi, Karen. Good morning.
Oh,
You're still muted.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to
yeah,
see you this morning.
I'm sitting here with a stomach ache. I finally realized what you mean when you say relapse happens long before you pick up. I am in the middle of relapse, and I'm struggling with integrity. I'm struggling with my perspective. I think I had it all together, and I realized I don't.
Are you using right now?
No, I have not used,
Okay.
but
So you're not in relapse. You're working toward a relapse.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's something that you're going to speak to your sponsor about later, right?
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Yes.
responsible.
I think that's why I have a stomach ache.
Yeah, and that's so listen. So this stomach ache is telling you I have some stuff that I need to work through. You telling on yourself is the integrity part of it. We don't need to get so you're like some of the rest of us with that, you know, perfection thing. And so your thing in your head is, well, maybe I should have been talking about this 3 days ago, but you're talking about it now. And so let's remember, everything happens in the universe when it happens in the universe.
Yeah.
End. So if right now is when you're talking about it, right now is when you're talking about it. So instead of, we talked about this the other day, everybody, instead of saying, I should have been talking about it 3 days ago and giving yourself a stomach ache, why don't you give yourself some kudos to say, wow, today I'm going to be honest, step into my integrity, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to get better. Let's make that a great thing, this great positive thing that you're doing now, instead of beating us up for something that happened 3 days ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Would you give me that same advice?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In
So,
a heartbeat.
okay, so I'm asking you to treat yourself with the same love and kindness and respect, Karen, as you would treat me. Okay?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Love you. Thank
Love
you
you
for
too.
sharing.
Thank you so
So
much.
no, you're not in active addiction, right? You're scared.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so you're
terrified.
okay. So you're terrified. So thank you for sharing that. You guys, and I'm sure there are people in the room that recently have been terrified. Okay.
Sure.
You know, did we all say it the second we were terrified? No. Are there other people in the room crying? Yeah. Yeah. Remember, the stuff that we go through doesn't make us unique. It makes us the same. And it's that sameness when you share that allows you to step into service. Because I'm going to promise that you're talking about something right now that Robin needs to hear.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that. because you help somebody else come clean with themselves. You're not in active addiction until you pick up. Are we walking toward relapse? They say if we're not walking toward our recovery, we're walking toward our relapse. So, okay, but you haven't stepped into relapse, have you?
No.
No, you haven't. Okay, so then let's give ourselves some kudos, pats on the back. Let's give ourselves some kudos for saying, today I woke up and I'm brave, right? I'm courageous and I'm honest and I'm going to tell the truth so that I can stay well. So congratulations. You don't get a minus for that, you get a plus. Okay?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you for sharing.
So with Karen's bravery,
Yes.
can we give everyone some homework to do on what's eating?
I think we can. So what do we want to do there?
So
Besides your
sharing
gratitude list,
something-
right?
sharing something that maybe you haven't wanted to share in terms of where you are in your recovery or something that's holding you back. Or,
So easy. I'm going to share like right after the meeting.
okay, and also, so there's two things. There's one is sharing on ourselves, and the other thing is being on service to someone else. And the way to be service to someone else is when someone else posts, just say to them, thank you for sharing. Or give them a like, or give them a love, or whatever it is, but be of service to them that they know that they're not alone.
Yeah, and when you guys, when we share, when we're scared, we're being of service to everybody. We really are, because there are times when we're going to share and everyone else is going to say, oh my God, like I just felt like that 2 minutes ago or yesterday. I love the time when you talked about, and I went into the room and I said, I felt like killing myself. And everybody in the room was like, oh yeah, I felt like that last week. Oh my God, like where do you go that you can say stuff like that? That everyone's like, yeah. Like I woke up like that this morning, It gives other people a chance to say how they feel. And it lets us know that we ain't so special. We're addicts, that we're not alone, and that we're not different, that we're all the same. Our recovery is going to be a different journey for everyone. Our addiction, no matter what we picked up, as far as the shame and the hurt and the self-abuse, that's all the same, you guys. That makes us all exactly the same.
We have someone new who's joining us.
Okay, but so I don't.
So we have
see-
someone
it's
who's
Deb,
via
right?
telephone. No, Deb.
I don't think so.
Oh.
So we have someone on a Samsung who's joining us. If you want to speak,
Hi Samsung. If you want to unmute yourself.
and just say hi. Okay, we'll come
Okay,
back.
that's
to-
okay. So if you have anything that you want to say, whoever's on
You
the
just
telephone.
signed out.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you join us by Zoom, there's also a chat button. You can always just say, I just want to listen. I don't want to talk, and that's okay. We have no issue with that. So I wanted to touch on the workshop,
Okay.
because there is one coming up. It's our Valentine's gift to ourselves. It's starting the weekend of Valentine's weekend, the 17th of February. And the way that we structured it, we want as many people to participate as possible. And it's a 10-week intensive workshop, but we've done it that essentially it works out to be $69 a session, but it gives you a 1-year membership to us, because I found when I stepped into recovery, my ears changed. I was more receptive as I was going through the process. I heard things differently. I reacted differently to things as I was growing in my recovery. So we wanted people to be able to step back into this room over a whole year period if they felt that they wanted to retouch on one of those sessions, if they wanted to listen. So it gives you the ability, once you've signed up for that, to pop into any of the future workshops, the beginner workshops for that year, to be able to rework those steps or reconnect or do it over again if you want to. So we did it that way. For people who did the last workshop, we're doing the same thing for them for $30, which really is, we just, it works out to
It's $30 a
it's
session.
$36 a session, which works out to be $30 a month, which really, they're also going to be getting, everyone
That's
gets
okay.
special.
Said it backwards. It's okay.
Okay. I work
We'll figure out the math.
I
It's
work
okay.
Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
I'm from Africa.
We'll clear that
Yeah.
up.
Okay, so essentially, if you had to work it out that way, it's $36 a session. It's 10 sessions. It's $360. But also, we are going to offer everyone who's part of our, and we're offering this to our members first before we start advertising. We are starting to advertise this week on the wide web, and it is only for 25 people, because we keep it small so we can keep it intense so people can really get real recovery.
Yeah, so that we can all share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
everybody can be heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone can participate in different ways. So it's not only your shares, you're able to also communicate and give your input on what other people are sharing.
And get
too.
closer to a community of people. So, and that's what it's done. You know, when you even look at people like Karen, who is on Zoom, who's been on Zoom like all the time, and is such an integral part of this community by stepping into Zoom, right? And being in our workshop and getting to know everybody and sharing your experience, strength, and hope with everybody else and coming clean like you did from the beginning. And I don't know if any of that stuff would have happened had you not been, and you're an integral part of our group. Where do you live?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, so she's in Missouri. We're in South Florida. So, and she's just as an integral part of our group as the rest of us who do live
So,
here.
Karen, how does it feel connecting by Zoom? Do you feel like you're in the room?
I do, because I can see everyone, and I really wish I were there, sitting on the couch somewhere. but it does. Beyond that, it feels like I'm a part of the group.
Because you're a part of the
it
group.
works great.
Yeah, because you are a part of our group.
So the workshops are, I'm so pleased that you shared this, because the workshop's on a Saturday at 10:30. You are able to connect from anywhere in the States, anywhere in the world, if you want to
Anywhere in
join
the
us,
world.
and you'll have
Yeah.
the exact same experience of being in the room. So you are able to participate. We do mail out the workbook, so we do need a little bit of time to get it to you. So if you are in Israel, please just give us a couple of days to
Yeah.
get it to you. But it is so valuable, because the tools that you learn within this workshop will carry on throughout your recovery. It's not something that you do once and you're done and it's over, but it's tools that you can keep going back to refresh yourself on, and insights that we continue to grow from.
And very interesting, because you guys, it's like doing step work a bunch of times. So you do your, you do a workshop and you keep your notebook, and then you do another workshop and you're like, wow, like this is where I was, this is where I am, and this is what I still need to work on. And I'm so proud of myself because I've grown so much this way, right? Ange and I talk about stuff like that all the time, because you've done step work 856 times. So every time she does her step work, she looks back and says, wow, that's where I was. You know, and these were 4 of my goals, and I've reached 3.5 of them.
So the way that you can sign up is, at the moment, we are on Facebook under events. You can either do it on our Why Wait for Recovery page, you can do it on What's Eating You, and on the various other groups that we have. If you can't find the information, just IM us, no matter how you do it, via our website, whether it's Facebook, if it's Google, just IM us and I'll send you the link to be able to do that. We're also on YouTube. So we are trying to build a subscription base of 1,000 people, because then we're able to actually monetize this, to pay for more advertising, to reach more people, to get them into recovery, essentially. So please go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and support us that way. You can also see old videos. So I have the
Thank
whole
you.
archive.
And since people were talking about my credentials, I'm just going to let you guys know that I have a PhD in positive psychology. I'm a certified recovery support specialist through the state of Florida. I'm a physician assistant certified in the state of Florida as well. Because someone had said, oh, she's a doctor, what's her? My doctorate is in positive psychology. So just giving a shout out to everybody else who has a doctorate, and that's a really cool thing to have a doctorate in. And that we're not making stuff up. You know, I practice internal medicine and endocrinology, so I have really good head full of what's okay and what's not okay as far as diabetes and heart disease and obesity goes. So thanks for asking, you guys. Makes me feel kind of special that you asked.
So we are starting to run out of time. Please, I love seeing everyone's gratitude. It helps us get out of our stinking thinking and refocus on what's good in the day and the things that we're grateful for. 3 things you're grateful for and your strength for today. Just share it with us. It's a great way to go to sleep.
Yeah, and so do we know what day we are in the challenge? Because last time I did day 1 to 90.
I suck with
Was
that.
it 2? I think we do. I think we're on
Yeah, me too.
2, right? I think today is day 14, because I want to start putting up the days like I did last time. Okay, and Robin, I'm going to read this to you. These
Thank
are the
you.
promises from Alcoholics Anonymous. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down that scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and of self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they do always materialize if we work for them. I am so blessed and grateful for every one of you out there, for my peeps in the room. Thank you so much. Thank you for being of service to me, for showing up and for allowing me, giving me that strength that I need for my recovery. My name is Felice, and thank you everybody who participates with Why Wait for Recovery.
And I am so blessed to be in recovery. And I just want to say, if no one told you today that they love you, I love you.
And you're awesome.
And you're awesome. And for all our newcomers, please keep coming back. This works if you work it. And really, we love having you. You make our day special. We'll see you Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
Peace out, you
Peace
guys.
out, everybody. Have
Make
a
it an
beautiful week.
amazing, amazing week in recovery.